This is Rob Tubbett for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm here today with the gentleman. We're in sunny old Kent. Quite nice, isn't it? How you doing, Chris?
Very well, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Not bad, thanks. Not bad. Thanks for having me down to, well, the new digs. Explain to me where we are and why we're here.
We are in Canterbury at the University of Kent, or Kent University, not sure what one. This is camp now. We've moved down here, got a nice new gym, and we've got new digs as well with loads of fridges, as I'm sure your viewers can see.
There's plenty of fridges. There's also, well, you're all explain to people the dynamic of kind of, you're in student accommodation at the minute, sharing, 6 rooms with your stablemates. Talk to me about that.
So basically got like a semi-detached house, 6 rooms, they're all identical. A few flipped around different ways to fit them all in, but I'm upstairs with Taylor, Malik Zanad and Josh Pritchard when he's here, and then we've got Jack Hillier and Lawrence Coley downstairs. Who's
the worst person to live with?
I mean, we've been here one night, so I know I can't have a say yet, but maybe next time we interview, then I'll know.
Well, next time we're going to do a cribs, so Boxing Social viewers, watch out for that. Don't know whether or not we'll get you to do the cribs, maybe use one of the other guys, but still, probably Jack Hillier. Jack Hillier, show off his wonderful goatee. How you doing, mate? We haven't done an interview since your fight with Riakporhe back in July. How have you been?
Yeah, all right. Had some time off, went on holiday, went to Italy, found a wedding venue, booked that in Italy, so that was exciting. Nice bit of downtime, something a bit different, but mine's still on boxing. I've been back in camp for 3-4 weeks now. I had 2 weeks off and then came back into camp. But yeah, now just waiting for the next move.
How many times you watched the fight back?
A few times. I still believe I won the fight. I can't see how it was 7 rounds to 3. Obviously, one of them being a 10-8 with the score knocked down. I can't see that scorecard at all. But unfortunately, that's boxing, and I'll have to learn from it. I'd love the rematch. I believe he's come out and said he doesn't want a rematch. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. But I want the rematch. But if not, we'll just go another route and we'll go get some titles another way.
I actually spoke to Richard Riakporhe after the fight. I can't remember whether or not it made camera. If it didn't, I'm very sorry, Richard. But I think he was open to the idea of potentially having a rematch somewhere down the line. It was a good fight, so maybe we'll see that down there. How much did you learn from that fight? You've had a few weeks now to digest it. You're back in the gym. How much do you think that will benefit you moving forward, having that test so early in your career?
Yeah, definitely. It's given me a lot of confidence with the 10 rounds of the physical fight. I probably allowed it to be too physical at times. I could use my feet a bit more in moving my angles, but I've learnt a lot, and it's that experience that I needed. So I'm ready to go again. We don't want to go back into 6 rounders or anything like that. Ideally, we're ready to go straight back in for another domestic fight. There's plenty out there, it's definitely put me in good stead going to the future.
Received quite a lot of praise after the fight. I know we had a little bit of a laugh and a joke about some of the tweets that were sent out. I think was it Paddy Power or Bet someone. It doesn't matter because Betfred are the best betting company going. What was it like for you to receive that kind of adulation? It was your first step-up fight, obviously massive exposure being on a box office bill. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I think it's the first time I've ever lost a round in a fight, so it was a bit different for me. It was a good bill. I was stood there waiting to walk out. The names are going around the screen, and all my fans are just there chanting Billam. I'd done a decent amount of tickets, and that was kind of why I got into the sport. I went to watch a mate as an amateur with about 20-30 of us chanting his name, Dino, And I had a little moment then, thought, I'll give that a go, that must be a wicked feeling. And then I had it at the O2 where I've watched many great fights, including one at the weekend with Campbell and Loma. So yeah, to having your name ringing around the arena like that, massive thanks to my fans. It's a very special moment for me. But next time, hopefully there'll be even more people there and we'll get a better result.
Now we'll come on to this past weekend's fight involving your stablemate Luke Campbell and Vasyl Lomachenko. But before we do that, Boxing Social's Andy Purow, shout out Andy Purow, caught up with Sam Hyde yesterday in Manchester. I know that's a fight that you've spoken about and voiced your interest in the past, as is your other stablemate, Lawrence Sarkodie. Is that the type of level of opponent that you're looking at to come back into?
Absolutely. And you know, Sam's proved himself against Riakporhe as well. I understand he wants the rematch, and I know how he feels. We both feel like we done well enough to get a victory in that fight. Obviously, he was unfortunate with the eye injury. I like Sam. Sam's a nice lad. He's a good fighter, and that's the sort of test I want. You know, he's domestic level at the moment, so that would be another fight I'd definitely be interested in. I believe he said something about him looking to fight Riakporhe for the British if Lawrence vacates and whatnot. So yeah, that's definitely the sort of opponent I'm looking to box. Or Jack Massey. I'd love to get revenge on Jack Massey, who beat me in the ABA final in 2013. We could, you know, that's a good story there as well. We've boxed before, and he's obviously got, I believe he got made mandatory for the British. So yeah. Yeah, I'd love any of those fights.
Have to wait and see what happens with his injury, pretty gruesome injury, in the build-up to his, then cancelled fight with Lawrence Sarkodie. We've just briefly touched upon it. This past weekend, Luke Campbell versus Vasyl Lomachenko. Great fight, great performance from Luke Campbell, albeit in a losing effort against Vasyl Lomachenko.
Yeah, it was a hard fight to watch in a sense, because when most people watch Lomachenko, they want to watch him to appreciate him, and it's impossible to do that when you're one of your mates is in there fighting him. But I thought it was a fantastic performance by Luke, and I understand the way he is. Like this, for me, this shows the measure of him. He was absolutely devastated after that fight, and a lot of people were just like, "But you've just boxed one of the best fighters ever, and you've put in a great performance against him, you hurt him, you did this," but he's not happy with that, and that shows the measure of the man, and that's why he's so good at what he does, because he doesn't think he wants to be one of the best fighters ever. He's not just happy to just, you know, put in a good performance against one of those guys and be second best. It's not him. And I spoke to him that night after the fight, on text and stuff, because he went to the hospital for some checkups, but he's all good now, and he's back home. So, but yeah, he seemed in better spirits that night and the next day, and he should be very proud of his performance. And it was interesting. I think that the body shots took their toll. Lomachenko's just something very special. He's a very, very special fighter, and as is Luke. But unfortunately, Loma is a once in a lifetime fighter. He will, I believe, go down as one of the greatest fighters ever. So, yeah, it was like I said, it was a tough night because I haven't appreciated Loma live, but I was gutted for Luke on the night.
Now, I actually tweeted about it, so I had it slightly closer than the judges. I had it around 116, 111, rewatching it around 117, 110. How did you see the fight? How close did you have it, and ultimately, what was the difference between them at the end?
I think I didn't score it on the night. I very rarely score the lads I'm watching in camps fights because I'm there shouting and screaming and hollering and not thinking about that. I'm just thinking about what they can do better or next or whatever. And so I think I gave Luke the first 2 rounds though. I was thinking at the time, because obviously Loma always starts slow. The first round he barely threw anything and Luke did, so it picked up a round there. Second round was a bit closer, but I do believe Luke nicked it. And then Loma just starts, he does his thing and he computes everything and stores it all upstairs and starts going to work. But Luke was making him think every round. You've never seen Loma have a round off. That round 7 where he hurt him, and then Loma came back, and that was the difference, I believe, is when he was getting hurt or Luke was getting on top, he'd finish the exchanges better, he'd finish the rounds better, and there was a lot of close rounds, so he's probably just nicking them because he was finishing the exchanges. But I believe it was closer than the judges, but there was a lot of close rounds, and Loma was nicking a few by just, putting the finishing the exchanges better, and his body punching's unbelievable. It's effortless. The way he does everything is effortless, but he did look like he was thinking a lot more than usual. Usually everything is just completely just like he's not thinking, but it looked like he had to think the other night, and Luke should be proud of that.
Do you rate Lomachenko as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world? If not, who do you rate as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world?
Yeah, I do now after Saturday night, definitely, because I know how good Luke is. I've seen him in the gym, seen him spar, and he's always switched on, and he's always hurting people, dropping people, playing with people, but not in a manner where it's lazy. He's always switched on, and his concentration is probably one of his best assets. I think he showed that the other night with his concentration. He doesn't switch off at all. But yeah, I'd have Loma at number one. Terence Crawford would probably be in my top three as well. Then after that, I'm not really sure who else would be in my top three, but I'd definitely have Loma as number one.
Where next for Luke? As you mentioned, he was devastated after the fight, something I spoke to Shane about. He does have that kind of, from his amateur background really all the way forward, that elite level thinking where any loss is just such a shock to the system. That being said, put up a good performance against pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. What would you like to see next for Luke?
Rest. He's had, obviously he's been with Shane for about a year now, or just over a year. He had the Mendy fight, which he boxed superb, and then he was training up to December for a December fight. We went to Miami, obviously, and then that never happened. He ended up boxing in March, so he didn't really have much time off. And then you were there when the Loma fight got called by the WBC, and it was like, okay, so then he had a few days off, and he was but he's always in shape and always training. So I think he deserves a break. It'd be good for him, and also Loma's he's going to unify apparently and then move down so he could fight. If Loma fights Richard Comey and then the four belts are vacant, because it would be absolutely tragic if Luke Campbell retired without a world title. Unfortunately, he came up short against, like I said, one of a kind fighter the other night. But any other lightweight in the division performing like that, he'd beat. So if Loma's going to unify and then move down to 130, I believe he said, then Luke can take over the division. He can do what he wants, and he can fight for any of the titles. And I'd like to see him do that. He'd need a fight in between, because that might not be for a while. But maybe have a fight in December or something like that. We'll have to see what goes on with the belts. Unless Loma gets injured and doesn't fight Comey, then Campbell could fight Comey and take his belt off him. Good, but when we talk about great fighters not winning world titles, I think he'd be the greatest fighter to ever not win a world title if Luke Campbell didn't. I know he's a friend of mine, and I'd be biased slightly, but he is. I've watched him through the amateurs and everything. I've always been a massive fan of his, and it would be tragic if he didn't. So he definitely will. I believe once Loma vacates, those belts come free, I believe he'll win at least one world title.
Who do you give the best chance of beating Lomachenko to? Let's say 135 and below, rather than messing around with 140 and obviously 147. Who do you give the best chance?
It's a tough one. I mean, obviously, Gervonta Davis has spoke about moving. Well, he said he's moving up to lightweight now, but I don't know how big he is. I haven't seen him in person, but he's obviously a very good fighter, and he does punch very hard. He's quick with it as well. But is he big enough as well? Because Luke obviously had the size on him, and the power, and Luke's got very good power. But Gervonta Davis is the only one who might be able to land a decent punch on him and knock him out. But you can't outbox him You're not going to outbox him. You've got to hurt him. So you've got to carry power. I can't really see anyone troubling him at super feather, really, to be honest. If he goes back down, so yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens if he does go back down. I don't think he should go up because look what happened. Mikey Garcia going up too far. He got absolutely bashed up and played with by Errol Spence. So it'd be a shame for someone that good to move up and lose on size when it's not down to size. It shouldn't be down to size because there's not enough depth in the divisions below. He's beaten a fantastic fighter in Luke, like one of the best in the world, and everyone else he's beaten. You go through his resume, his worst opponent was like 24 wins, 5 losses. So that was on his debut. So then he's obviously lost the Salido loss, which was questionable. I think lack of experience made that close. If you're going to give it to Salido, but I do believe Loma still won the fight. But yeah, and then Gary Russell Jr. in his 3rd fight, which is unheard of because he's obviously a fantastic boxer in his own right. He's very quick. So yeah, it's just, you go through his resume and it's unbelievable already, and he's had 15 fights, I believe. So yeah, I can't see anyone troubling him.
Moving away from all things Lomachenko Campbell, we also had the confirmation of Josh Taylor against Regis Prograis. Been waiting for that for a while. That's now going ahead October the 26th. I'm sure you'll be back in Josh Taylor, but just break down the fight for me.
I believe physically it's an easier fight than Baranchyk for Josh. It's a more thinking fight. Be a bit more patient. Prograis a bit more of a counter puncher, but when I saw Prograis and him head to head, I couldn't believe how short Prograis was, and that was with his platforms on that he had on. And that's the first thing I noticed. I just looked down and I saw these massive platforms, and I was like, what? Like, he must be really short, like really short. He can punch, Prograis, and he's a clever fighter. He's good at walking people onto shots, but I believe Taylor will be too clever for him, be too quick for him. And Shane will come up with a great game plan, which Taylor will be able to follow through. And like I said with the Baranchyk fight, it was physical, and it was a tough fight. It'll be a much more thinking fight, and I actually believe that will suit Taylor because he can decide when to go and when to not go. But once he starts finding his feet and finding the shots, I do believe that he'll take Prograis out, because I don't think Prograis ever really been hit or tested to that, to see if he's got that metal in him. And we know that Taylor has. He's shown it throughout his career, and his resume has obviously been a very good one as well, for only 15 fights, world champion already, and unified world champion after 16 fights. That's how I see that fight going.
Quite a good breakdown. Enjoyed it. Just finally, another fight that was announced for the same card, featuring another one of his stablemates, the Source, Lawrence Accommodation, who's walking around somewhere in his dressing gown, looking like Huggy Bear. He fights Ivan Garu for the European Cruiserweight title. I'm sure there'll be people watching this who aren't massively familiar with Ivan Garu. That was Huggy Bear himself about to come into the kitchen.
He had his name.
Talk to me about that fight.
So it's obviously for a European title, and Lawrence is at that level. I've seen a little bit of Ngannou, and I believe Lawrence's skill and footwork will be the deciding factor. The fact that Lawrence has got that punch power if Lawrence didn't have that, I think it would be a lot closer fight, because he's a tough bloke, Ngannou, and he tucks up well and he comes forward the whole time. But you got to have, it's a bit like a cruiserweight Ivan Mendy in that sense, where you got to have that power to earn their respect and be able to stop them coming forward with the small gloves on. Whereas if you can't punch and you're just outboxing them and you're just tapping them, and they'll just walk through and they'll just take over later on in the fight. But Lawrence has got that punch power to do that hurting. And Lawrence can make it easy for himself. He's got all the attributes. He's got the height, the reach. Obviously, like I just mentioned, the power as well. And he's looking really good. He looks really focused already. He has been in camp for 3 or 4 weeks already as well. And I think I believe he'll. I don't know how tough Garu is. He looks very tough, but once Lawrence starts landing into the body and then working his way up to the head, he could take him out late on. If not, Lawrence will win, I believe, on a wide points.
Okay, well, I think that's probably about it. Can you think of anything else? Any other business?
No. Happy birthday for tomorrow, mate.
Thank you very much.
That's about it. I've got a niece on the way, which I'm waiting to hear about, so I'll be disappointed if she's born on the same day as you, to be honest.
And Beyonce.
Beyonce. That's your claim to fame, isn't it?
Who's that? Who's ringing?
That's ringing you. Your mum. Do you want me to answer it?
No.
Okay. I bet your mum's sound.
No comment.
Oh, I bet she's sound. Oh, I'm getting a phone call from my missus. I'm not going to answer that.
What I'll do is I'll answer the phone to Mia and you can answer the phone to Mum.
Yeah, okay.
Put them on together, put them on loudspeaker. Okay, well, Chris Billam-Smith, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Look forward to seeing you back in the ring, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, cheers, mate, and I'm sure we'll have some news soon.